Hi there and thank you for tuning in. In this video I will be covering the basics of the Nikon Z50, and I'm assuming that you have just unboxed it and you're sitting here looking at your camera thinking what is up and down and how do I operate it. So nothing advanced going on in this video. I will take you through the basics and that's it. So if we start with power, that's always a good thing to have. Battery sits down here. There is a battery door here and it's not spring laden. That took me a little bit time to get used to, but it's right there. And if you remove or pull back this little orange thing, you can see the battery jumps out, and here it is. I always charge with the charger that came with the camera, and this is low tech and it works. That's why I really like it. You can see there are connectors here in one side of the battery, and they need to hit those connectors sitting down here in your charger, so like that. And if you want to remove the battery, it's up here. You need to lift it first and then it's out. There are two modes for the indicator. One is flashing and then it's charging, and when the light is steady then it is done charging. Yeah, that's all there is to this charger. Then you have power, but before we insert the battery, it can be a good idea to take out the SD card. It's a little bit easier when the battery is not there. And again, you can see I have so many SD cards that I write where I use them, and this is no exception. So this is my card for the Nikon Z50 here. The logic is that the connectors or the contacts here, they need to point towards the camera when you insert it. So like this, and it's spring laden. So once you have inserted it, you can hear it makes a little click like that. And you can see here it jumps out when I push it, so it's ready to be taken out like that. Yep, that's it. The battery, again, connectors. You can see where the connectors are. Maybe that's difficult to see here in the video, but they are right down there. And you can see the connectors here in the battery. If you can't recall all that, just remember that the side with all the text needs to point towards the camera like this. And then the connectors have to be at the bottom like that. You can slide this thing here, the yellow thing here that locks the battery. You can slide that to the side when you insert the battery like that, and just push, and then it locks. You can hear the click when the battery locks. That's it. I must admit that it's been a while since I unboxed this camera, but I'm pretty sure that there was a camera strap supplied with the camera. And my recommendation is to you, always wear a camera strap. I had an accident some years back where I was carrying my camera without a camera strap. And then because I was slipping, I had to support myself. I couldn't let go of the camera, and I had to hold onto the camera while I supported myself. And unfortunately, that meant that the camera was underwater for just a split second because I was at the beach. So my recommendation, strong recommendation, is always wear a camera strap. Don't leave it at home. And I believe the one that's supplied with the camera is a fixed one. These from Peak Design, you can take those off. And that's because when I'm at home, I like to be able to take the camera strap off when I handle the camera at home. But that's just personal preference. The camera strap that comes with the camera is just fine as well. So make sure always wear a camera strap, especially when you're at places where you may drop your camera or where you may hurt it via water or the like. The lens, I bought the camera with the so-called kit lens. The reason why it's called kit lens is because Nikon often sell these two, the camera body and the lens, as a kit, where they give a significant discount. So I would strongly encourage you to look for offers where the lens and the camera is sold as a package, hence the name kit lens. And this is the 16-50, which is a good all-round lens, but you can get many different lenses. And the way you remove the lens, if that is to your liking, is you need to push this button here, and then you can turn the lens like this, and then you can take the lens off. When you mount it again, it's the opposite process or approach. You can see there is a white dot here on your lens, and there is a white dot here on your camera, and these two need to be aligned, and then you just turn And you can hear a very clear sound. It says click. If you push this button, then you won't have this confirmation. So I would strongly recommend that when you mount your lens, make sure you don't push that button, and you need to hear that reassuring click. The thing is, there are CPU contacts here and on your lens, and they need to be perfectly aligned in order for the lens and the camera to talk to each other. So make sure you hear that sound when you mount your lens. The lens has 2 rings in this case. Maybe you have the same lens as me. The closest to the camera is the manual focus lens. I won't cover that today because that's more advanced stuff. The other is the zoom. This basically gives you a wider or more narrow field of view. So when you're at 16, you can see very wide. When you're at 50, you see more narrow. That will be very clear to you when you see, put your eye to the viewfinder and turn this ring here. That works really well. The lens cap here, I would strongly recommend that every time you put your camera in a bag or the like, when you're out about, wear the lens lid or the lens cap here. Some people buy a filter or just a UV filter or something that doesn't really change the light and put it out here in front. So when you accidentally scratch the glass, then it's the filter you hurt and not the lens glass itself, because you can change the filter rather easily and without many costs, right? So that's that. The hood, you can see, you can actually mount it so that it's not completely aligned. You can see here, now it appears like it's sitting where it should, but it's not. So make sure it's completely flush with the lens, then you know that it has been mounted properly. Otherwise, it can easily fall off when you throw your camera in a bag or the like. If you feel like cleaning your sensor, this is perhaps a little bit more advanced stuff, but I just want to mention this. Never, never, ever use your breath to clean or try to remove dust. The sensor sits right here. This is a mirrorless camera, and that means that this is the sensor that registers the light that you see here. And you can use one of these so-called rockets, but there are probably many different products that will solve the task. But you can use one of these to remove dust, if you can see dust here on the sensor. But never, never, ever use your breath, because your breath contains moist. And if there's one thing your camera does not like, then it is exactly that, moist. So stay clear of the temptation to use your breath. Use a rocket blower like this one or similar product to clean the sensor for dust. The way you switch on your camera is here on the button here on the front. It can sort of move sideways, and you can see there's a white dot, and that shows you what mode the camera is in. So when the white dot is outside off, it's of course off, and vice versa when it's on. You can see here that it's a pretty big button, this one, and it's the shutter button for photography. If you're shooting video, then it's the red one. To get you out of shooting, I recommend we just take the camera in auto mode, but you can of course choose a lot of modes here. In auto mode, these 2 buttons, ISO and exposure compensation, they are sort of blocked. You can't really use them. So I will not talk about these either. But put your camera in auto mode, then you're good to go in terms of your first shots. On the front of your camera here, you can maybe see there's a little LED or a little light. And sometimes your camera needs that light in order to focus and do its job. I just mentioned that because it will happen by itself, so don't worry about it. But just make sure when you hold the camera not to block this light. Otherwise the camera will have a little bit difficulties operating. You can choose between shooting photography and shooting video, and the way you change that is with moving this lever. And maybe a little bit, I don't know if it's logical or so, but when you're up here on the photo position, then it's the shutter here on the front you use. When you are in video position, then it's the red recording button. If you try here to hit the shutter, you can see here the camera will tell you it's not recording. This says REC with a sort of a crosser. Just if you're wondering why can't I shoot video here, it's because you need to start it on the red button. If you're wondering why can't I shoot photography, then it's because you're trying to do that on the record button. So you can think of this as these two moving in parallel. When you're down here, it's the red button, and as soon as you move it in parallel that way, then you need to use the shutter here on the front. The shutter works the way that, I can just show you that I have a little model over here. I will just flip out the LCD so you can see what I'm doing. I have a little mouse we can photograph. When I half press the shutter, it focuses, and when I fully press, it takes the picture. So half press, focus, fully press, takes the picture. You can see that it gives me a green square or confirmation that I have focus. If it was red, then I would not have focus, and you can also hear that it confirms the picture is being taken like this. So that's actually the shooting. And the buttons here on the top. You also have some function buttons here on the front. You can try and hit those and see what happens. I will not cover that. I think it's a little bit more advanced, but know that there is an option to configure these function buttons so you can do certain things faster, and that's what they are designed to do. If we look at the rear LCD, it's a flip out LCD. That means that you can, as the name says, you can flip it out. It's not fully articulating, and the camera has been criticized a lot for this. You can only flip it down like this, and of course if you are a blogger, then it would have been nice had it been fully articulating, but it can only flip down. If you mount the camera on a tripod like this, then of course you can't really see the entire picture, so that's a little bit poor design if you ask me. But you can see here that you can do, if you want to do a low shot, then it can be useful to bring out the screen like this, then you can see what you're doing down here. You can also do it the opposite. If you're shooting over your head, then you can see what you're doing like that, but you cannot flip it out. I mean, you cannot take the screen and move it like this, and don't try it. It's not designed to do that. It's only designed to move in this direction, right? You can also see it has two hinges here, so only move it in this dimension. Don't try and move it like that. It won't work. It's not designed for it. You can grab the LCD here in different places and get it out. It's relatively easy. And you can also hear when I lock it, it gives a good sound that now the LCD is completely flush with the camera. The camera has an electronic viewfinder. That's the one you have here where you put your eye, and then it has the rear LCD. That's this one, or monitor as it's called. And then the question is, which of the two is actually active and when are they active? And for that, you have this little button here. You can see here there's a little button with a circle and two vertical lines. And if you hit that button, it will circle between 3 modes. And let me just try and do that. So if I hit it once, it will say automatic display switch. If I hit it a second time, it won't say anything. And a third time, it will say monitor only. So monitor only, that means that now you only will see it here. It will not show anything in the viewfinder. If you do the automatic display switch, you can see that if I put my finger to the viewfinder, then it turns off the rear LCD, right? If I remove it, it turns it on. I can do like that. Maybe it's even clearer if I put some images in the frame here. Let me just take the picture I took before. See, it moves away, and there it is. So there is a little sensor here that registers if there's something in front of the electronic viewfinder. And so if you put your eye to the viewfinder, it will automatically turn off the LCD. So that is the automatic switch. So only viewfinder, rear LCD, only viewfinder, rear LCD. You can toggle between these 3 modes, and this is what you see here. Now it's the viewfinder only, and of course you can't see that. Now it's the monitor only, that's what you're looking at now. And now it's the automatic display switch. That is the one where it toggles between you having your eye in the viewfinder and not. Yeah. For the sake of this demonstration, I would put it in monitor only so I can have my big fat fingers here without disturbing the presentation. So over here you have some physical buttons, and here you have some more, I don't know if they're logical or touch buttons. And I always forget that these touch buttons over here are there, but they are. And if I want to zoom in, for instance, I can do that just like on your smartphone. You can zoom in, and you can do a lot of things that you know from your smartphone with pinch and zoom and so on. You can also use the buttons here. So now I'm doing exactly the same as I would do using pinch and zoom on the screen as such. Be aware that there are these options, but here you can zoom in and here you can zoom out. The display here is toggles again between different ways of seeing, reviewing the image, and you can see there are several options here, and you can, in your own time study these. It can be very useful to have the histogram here displayed. That's the one here, shows the distribution of the light, but it can also be good to really be able to see what was it that I actually shot. When you take an image, of course, it's stored on the SD card, and when you want to see what you have shot, you can hit the play button, and then you can walk around between different images. You can see I have a lot of black images here, but let's get to some other images. You can see here I'm just walking back and forth. If I have shot a video, then it looks like this. Then it's a different symbol, and I can play that by pushing OK. OK works very much like pressing enter on your computer. In many cases, not always, but in many cases. And here, if I want to play that video, I can do like that, and you can hear that's me talking. I don't know really what that video was all about. There isn't that much going on, but in principle, that is what is going on here. I can also scroll back and forth if I wanna. Now that was a short video, but I can use the rare command dial here to position myself in the video. You can also see here top right, I have a little arrow that shows that I'm going back, meaning that I'm moving out of the playback of the video, and now I can continue and see other images I have here. If I feel like deleting an image, then I can press the little garbage can down here, and then the camera will ask me, do you really want to delete it? And I can push the same garbage can once more to delete, like that. If I do it again, it will take a new picture and say, do you really want to delete? If I want to cancel, I can push play, and then the image stays the same. You can zoom further out than the individual image if you do like this, and you can go quite far out, I can say like that. So you can quickly get an overview of all the images you have. If you want to quickly jump to another image, you can do like that, and then you can zoom in, pressing OK. So to review and maybe delete some images, the two buttons here, bottom right, are the ones you use. These two buttons that brings you into different menu systems. This one, the menu here, brings you into a really large menu system. I think for starters, I would stay clear of that and just focus on my shooting. But in here, you can see how many things you can set up on the Nikon camera. It can be quite overwhelming. The other button, that is what I call the I menu. That's this one here. And it gets you to a much smaller menu where you can set some parameters, for instance, the image quality, whether you want to Wi-Fi connect your camera, the release mode, meaning how many shots you take every time you hit the shutter, vibration reduction in the case of this lens, and then the focus mode. So I will not cover this, but just be aware that these two menus are available, and probably the one you want to get familiar with the first is the I menu, but I think that is for a more advanced video. When you're shooting, it's possible to lock both the focus and the exposure using this little button here, top right on your camera. And you simply hit that one and hold it in. And once that is done, you can see now I can focus somewhere else, but it remains, or I can move the camera around, but it remains focused on the little mouse here. And even though I hit the shutter here halfway, nothing will happen. Full, I then take the picture, and then you're done. So use this if you want to lock both the exposure and the focus. Half pressing the shutter will only lock the focus. You can also focus and take a picture just by touching the screen like that. And the way it works is you have a little button up here, and maybe that's difficult to see, but it sits right here. And that button, now it is in a position where it both focuses and takes a picture. You can also turn that so that it only focuses like this, but it won't take a picture. And then you can turn it off. So those three modes, I think this one is great fun, that you can actually just touch the screen, boom, and then it takes a picture. Just like when you're reviewing your images, you have different display options, and so is it when you're in shooting mode. You can toggle between different options. I'm just going through them here. You can see here I have a lot of information in the screen. Here I have the histogram, and here I have a little gyro, I would call it, to figure out if I'm holding the camera straight or horizontal. And here I have another way of seeing the same information. So different options, find the one that you like the most, but know that you can hit the display button here to toggle between different options. If you want to use flash, you need to pop up the flash. It will not work if it's closed down. It won't pop up by itself. So that's a little bit new to me. Some cameras, they will actually pop up when the camera thinks it needs the flash, but not in this case. You actually need to open it. You can configure the way the flash works in here in the eye menu. There is one here called flash mode. If you go into that one, you can see you can set it to auto. You can set it to auto with red eye reduction, and you can turn it off. So give that a try if that is to your liking. You can also, if you're in a hurry, the flash mode here, you can select that just by turning the rear command dial. You can see it's actually the same menu, but you're saving the step to actually go into the menu like I do now, and then go out again. You can just turn the rear command dial and then make your selection. There is a diopter button here on the side. You can give that a try. If the image is not razor sharp, try to turn it back and forth, subject to your liking and your eyes. There is no requirement to pull out. In some cameras you need to pull out this little button here in order to be able to turn it and then push it back again to lock it. But this one, it is possible simply just to turn it as it is. So maybe also check this once in a while, because maybe if you put your camera in your camera bag, you may accidentally, even though it is pretty tight, you may accidentally turn this dial without wanting to. But give that a try. Put your eye to the viewfinder. Make sure you have something that you focus on by half pressing the shutter, and then adjust here to make the best of it with your eyes and your glasses. I hope you now feel that you are familiar with most of the buttons on your camera, and I wish you the best of luck. As always, happy shooting. Take care. Bye bye.